Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina. Welcome to the Sunday Night Live Stream Show. That's right, it's Sunday night and it's time for that live stream show, Off the Hook with Captain Hubbard. And we are going to be talking fishing, answering your questions, giving away free trips, and having a good time doing it. Plus, so much more. Got a great show lined up for you tonight. And if you want a chance to win free fishing trips, and we are going to be giving away $1,500 in free trips right now during this live stream show, and we do it every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do is tune in and join us. You got to watch the whole show live. You got to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to enter for a chance to win. You can watch on YouTube, you can watch on TikTok, you can watch on Instagram, you can watch in a myriad of different platforms or pages, but you have to go to Facebook, find the Hubbard's Marina page, and find the live video, and make sure you comment at least one time. It helps if you follow us and you like the live stream too. We always appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, follow us on TikTok, follow us on Instagram, Trovo, Twitch, Twitter, all that good stuff too. But in order for a chance to win, you got to watch the show live. You got to go to Facebook, find the Hubbard's Marina page, comment on the live video. That's how you're entered for a chance to win. Then you watch the show live, and at random intervals, randomly throughout the show, we're going to display a winner on the screen. Your name will pop up on the screen, and I will announce your name. Then you've got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. That's how you enter. That's how you win. That's how it works. Also, we want to make sure we give a shout out, start out our show by shouting out our friends over there at Gator Jim's Tackle. 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't stopped by Gator Jim's Tackle, you are missing out. Stop by and tell them hello for us. And they have an incredible selection, amazing deals, really good people over there. Definitely want to stop by Gator Jim's Tackle and check it out. Incredible, incredible place. Tackle, floor to ceiling, as far as the eye can see. So make sure you stop on by Gator Jim's Tackle and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. Again, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't done so, you are missing out. So check out our friends at Gator Gyms. Also, we want to make sure we give a shout out to our supporters out there in our private supporters group. You can join us in that private supporters group anytime you want. It's $4.99 a month, less than a cup of coffee. You get access to the private supporters group, which has a ton of content in it, and it's a great community of people that fish often, ladies and gentlemen, and you get to know your fellow anglers. You get more behind-the-scenes content, more updates, more communication, plus you get access to our private supporters after show that happens weekly after our main show. A little bit more one-on-one. You get a chance to really ask your questions and dive in a little deeper. Plus, throughout the week, we post things there, so you get to find out about things first. You get more information. It is just an incredible value for $4.99 a month. Josh is going to drop the link in the chat now on our Facebook stream there if you're interested in joining. It's just hubbardsmarina.com/supporters if you're interested. Again, hubbardsmarina.com/supporters. Check it out, and a big shout out to all our supporters who are watching tonight. Also, want to make sure we give a shout out to those who are sending stars. Stars are a way for those watching on Facebook to show their support. There's ways on TikTok and TikTok and YouTube to do the same thing, but the stars are the popularly used one for sure. We had Stephen Batchelor, Scott Flynn, Todd Stutzman. Scott Flynn again, so 900 from our friend Scott Flynn. Thanks, buddy. Troy Davis, Yukimi Barker, Jason Richmond, a big 1,200 from D Beers. Thank you, D and Mike. James McCullum with 500. Thanks, buddy. Sam Lang with a big 830. Larry White with 1,000. Appreciate you, Larry. We also had Gary Camage, Mick Higgins. We had Don Shuett with a big 1,000. Jeff Reedy with a big 1,200. Thanks, Jeff. Corey McCluskey. We had LaShonda Brown, John Bull, and Corey McCluskey again with a big 1050. Thank you, Corey. Now, We want to talk to you guys a little bit tonight about what's going on now, what's coming up. We talked to you a little bit about the weather. Tonight we're going to be talking about Amendment 59. You might have been seeing that making its rounds in social media. We're going to go over Amendment 59, that bottom fishing proposal that's going to close bottom fishing for 3 months on the South Atlantic or East Coast side of Florida. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight as well. Plus, we're going to go over some announcements and then answer your questions live too. So if you want a question answered live during the show, you do have to text us at the phone number on the screen. If you comment your question, we're streaming to so many different platforms, so many different pages, it's really hard to see all the comments. So if you have a comment that you want answered live during the show, make sure you text it to the phone number on the screen. That way we won't miss it, and we'll have an opportunity to make sure we answer it. So text in your questions if you have it. Also, don't forget to comment. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us your favorite memory about Hubbard's Marina, or just say hello. Don't forget to comment as well. With that, are we ready for pictures, Josh? We are ready for pictures. So we're going to get right into what we're catching now. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the weather. Then we'll do a few announcements. Maybe we'll hear from Capt and Mike. And then we'll get into that Amendment 59 thing and then finish up on questions. So that's how tonight's show's going to roll. So first things first, let's roll into the photos and show you guys what we're catching. Lately, it's been a little bit tough to get out there offshore, so we don't have a ton of offshore photos for you. We've got a handful. We've got some nearshore photos, but the inshore side of things has been pretty active as of late. So we got a lot of inshore photos to go over. This is a nice triple tail. You don't see a ton of them this time of year. People seemingly didn't really haven't targeted them too heavily, but as we get into the spring, that water clears up a little bit. Generally behind the winter, once we get out of this cold front barrage, water really starts to clear up, and we still have those crab traps in the water till May. So a lot of times come spring, once that water starts to clear up, that's when these triple tail really get the hammer put down on them, because you can run those crab trap lines and the water's so cleared up, it's really easy to spot them and sight fish them. So we'll see more triple tail here in the coming weeks. Black drum have been pretty active as of late. We're seeing quite a few black drum as people are catching them as bycatch while they're targeting those plentiful sheepshead. We've been seeing a lot of sheepshead caught as of late, so the sheepshead bite is going really well for us. Plus, the redfish action is seemingly prolific. Everywhere you look, we're seeing the redfish from the pass to the beach to the jetty, and then all the way up into the very back bay waters. We're seeing a lot of these redfish. This is our buddy John. As a lot of you guys know John Sasser, he is a John's Pass legend. He fishes John's Pass all the time. He's at John's Pass more than I am, which is saying something. And he fishes hard. He's actually in a sheepshead tournament right now with Salt Strong. But he texted me all these photos of redfish saying, hey, I'm in a sheepshead tournament, but I'm having so much fun catching these redfish, I can't stop. So he's been tearing them up out there for sure. The redfish have been thick around the lights. We're seeing a lot of redfish during the day on the grass flats, mangrove shorelines, oyster bars, dock lines, even around the jetty and bridges. We're seeing a lot of those. Oh, look, Ryan Harrington got out there with the boys from Salt Strong. There's Luke on the left there, my left. I don't know how it comes across on computer. Luke is in the lighter color jacket, and Joe is in the camo jacket. That's Captain Ryan Harrington in the middle. Good dude, good captain, and cool they got to all fish together. Nice redfish action for sure around the area. As I've been saying, the soft plastic paddle tails are a great option, but the live shrimp have really been a prolific killer as of late for the redfish. Seen a lot of these sheepshead, docks, piers, bridges, jetties, rock piles, virtually any hard structure holding a lot of these sheepshead. Even finding some of the sheepshead schooling up on the grass flats and around the mangroves, which is pretty cool too. And the sheepshead action kind of hits its peak in February. So if you want to get out there and get some sheepies, now is the time during this cooler weather trend. The cold front action gets them going for sure. Christian, our buddy from John's Pass, with a nice snook. There's been some nice snook. Jose, Josh. Jose was out at the pass. For those of you who fish with us on the 10-hour, you probably know Jose. He goes out quite a bit. He caught himself like probably close to a 38-inch snook the other day at the pass. So there are snook around. They are just very, very lethargic. What, Josh?
He hid his photo. He changed his background so nobody wouldn't tell him. And
so you saw it posted on Facebook, and he blurred his background?
Oh, he put it on the moon.
He's such a goofball. Well, it was at John's Pass,
No.
at Hubbard's main dock. I can show you exactly where he hooked it if you would like to know. And I'd be happy to. I'd be very happy
I don't know where it was because it was out of this world.
It was by the hose on the very northeast corner of Hubbard's Marina main dock. It's an orange hose with a yellow handle. I'll show you.
To Josh for Google Maps.
So some nice snook action around. There's our buddy Dave, the mad snooker, catching a bunch. Captain Dave Parmalu, the mad snooker. If you want to catch a lot of snook, this is the guy. Like, my father does a lot of fishing, grew up around the industry, and he tells stories of the trip that he did with Dave. Captain Dave Parmalu is the man. Man, I can't think of her name. I'm blanking on the name, but the president of the Hillsborough County chapter, Darlene, the president of the Hillsborough County chapter. She's the founder of the Salt Strong Alliance. Joe and Luke helped to start this nonprofit, and they're raising a bunch of money and doing a lot of cool things through Salt Strong. But Darlene's kind of spearheading it. It's called the Salt Strong Alliance. She was in a snook tournament, and she cheated. Well, not really. She didn't actually cheat, but what she did was she hired Captain Dave here, Dave Parmalu, the mad snooker, and went on, I think he said it was 4 charters with her, either 3 or 4 charters, but she averaged over 60 snook a trip. I think it was like 61 or 62 snook. She ended up catching like over 250 snook for the tournament. Yeah. And like the second place was like something like in the 50s. So she trashed the tournament, booking multiple days in a row with Captain Dave Parmalu. Good dude. Really, really good dude. So as you can see, snook action is happening. You just got to work for them. Back Bay, Upper Bay, find those sun-drenched shorelines, those muddy flats, those areas where you can find them a little warmer, and they're going to be more active. Trout action has been super prolific around the area. These big yellowmouth gator trout are definitely more active this time of year. Colder, cool water. They are a very cold-tolerant species. So some nice trout action going on around the area for sure. So good time to chase the trout, redfish, and sheepshead. And you might get some drum, and then if you work hard, you can find those snook. And then the flounder. The flounder, too, have been pretty active around the area on those sandy edges, sandy potholes, sandy flats adjacent to the structures. Definitely have seen an increase in the flounder action as of late. And that wraps up our inshore photos. Let's look and see what we got near shore and offshore. And John said that big snook looked like it was 40 plus. Captain Dave Parmalu is the man to go with. If you want a 40, 45-inch snook, chance to hook a true monster snook, you really should book a trip with Captain Dave Parmalu. Dude is an animal. Like the snook guy when it comes to snook fishing. It's pretty awesome. But got to stay up all night because he mainly charters at night. They call him the mad snooker because he's up all night long, almost every night. It's crazy. All right, so let's go back to the photos and show you what we're catching near shore and offshore. Black sea bass, big old hump head black sea bass. This is that time of year we see some of those nice sea bass coming up. Big catch and release gag grouper, unfortunately. So seeing some nice gags, but have to catch them and release them. Plenty of heads and tails. The gray snapper are active. We're seeing some nice hogfish action too. The hogfish bite has been pretty steady for us overall, and we're seeing some nice big old hogfish and having a good time doing it. So the 10 hours getting a real good shot at the hogfish. Half days catching a couple hogfish too. we're seeing plenty of those other heads and tails like the grunts and maybe some gray snapper and maybe some black sea bass mixed in as well. So some nice lanes, some really nice lanes came up on the 12-hour night trip this past Friday. Had a super light load. Only 21 people went out there on the 12-hour night. They got a couple nice, really big mangroves. I think Lance Hall got like a 7-pound mangrove, and then lots of nice lane snapper too. So the nearshore fishing has been going pretty well for us. Offshore-wise, we haven't really been able to get out there too much offshore because, like I said, the weather. But some nice catch and release gag grouper, some nice fat red grouper to take home when we're able to get out there and do it. So got to find those weather windows and capitalize when you can. As you can see, a lot more inshore photos as of late because of that weather. And speaking of weather, it's a little nautical right now. Let's get into the weather and tell you what's going on weather-wise. We're going to go to hubbardsmarina.com. We're going to hit fishing trips, and then second one down is weather links. We're going to go over here to the 5 and 10 hour forecast area under the wind finder links, and you can very easily see here we're looking at a little bit of windy weather here the next couple days. It calms down a little bit Thursday, a little bit more of a disturbance there at the beginning of the weekend, and look at this. Look at this. Late weekend, it looks like we might have 3 days in a row of some decent weather. We have not seen more than 2 nice days in a row in probably 3 weeks. So this could be good end of this upcoming weekend, beginning of next week's work week. I'm hoping that stays true. That'll be a nice little reprieve from this weather. But as you can see, today was nautical, blowing, gusting to almost 40 miles an hour, built to almost 5-foot seas, and that's inshore. This is the Egmont Key Buoy, only 16 miles southwest of Johns Pass. Tomorrow, it is still up in that 5-foot range, blowing a solid 20. And then Tuesday, it calms down a little bit, but still pretty rainy and nasty. So Tuesday, Wednesday don't look too good as well. A lot higher of a rain chance and weather chance there Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, we might get a little bit of a break. Hopefully that holds true, and then it picks right back up Friday and Saturday. But like I said, it looks good after that. So hoping and praying this holds. Look at Tuesday of next week. We don't ever look this far in advance because a lot of times this can change, but look at that. Tuesday, January 28th, no wind. Beautiful conditions, and it's warming up for us too. So fingers crossed that'll hold true because we could use a couple days of nice weather there. So end of this upcoming weekend, maybe Thursday, but end of this upcoming weekend looks like a good period. So we'll see how that shapes up. We got Capt Mike Anderson on the line. What's going on, Capt Mike? How are you, buddy?
I'm good, my brother. How are you guys tonight?
Doing well, man. So who won the 1 o'clock game?
The Eagles.
The Eagles.
3 o'clock. Yeah, I came on at 3. Eagles snuck it out. Good game, though. Good game. Lots of little bit of back and forth. So a couple of key plays here.
Commanders, Eagles, and Chiefs so far. And we got one more game going on now, I'm sure.
The Bills, I think, are up right now.
I think the Bills are going to win.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'm pulling for the Bills now to win it all.
Yeah.
But
and
we'll see what happens. Yeah.
So if the Bills win, it'll be Bills versus Chiefs, Commanders at Eagles, right?
Yep.
I still think it's going to be the Eagles and Chiefs.
It might be. Could very well be. The Eagles got a good football team. Saquon was big today, so
yeah, it was.
You know, the offensive line is really, really good in Philly, and you win a lot of football games if you're really good up front, and they're really good up front on both sides of the ball. So it would not surprise me to see those two in it. We'll see.
Yeah, for real. All right, We'll see. How's the fishing been going inshore?
You know what? It's a little tough. You know, these fronts got things a little boogered up. The water's a little bit dirty. We've had a lot of wind. It's you know, we're having to work at it a little bit. Sheep's head bite is good. There's some big trout bite if you get the right tides. There's some redfish on the docks, a few redfish on the flats, and some potholes and things like that. But it's, you know, we're having to work a little bit for sure.
Yeah. Working
kind of normal
hard,
this time of year.
grinding it out, right?
Yeah. You know what I thought was interesting? We had Captain Mike Rogel today on on the T.M. Mahoney Company Real Animals radio show, and just picking his brain a little bit. He's a safety harbor guy, so he fishes the upper bay, kind of everything from the Gandy north, a lot of real skinny water stuff up north of the Courtney Campbell Causeway. And I know he's a skiff guy. He's got a bay boat too, but he also has a technical pulling skiff. And I was picking his brain on his favorite wintertime baits, and the first thing he said was small. And I thought to myself, you know what? That's really spot on. Small baits, they're in a crustacean feed. They're not eating big baits right now for the most part. Really, really kind of a great tip.
Yeah.
Whatever it is you're using, he claims he pitches his baits out in front of a moving fish, somewhere sight fishing, and basically just lets it sit there. Maybe just wiggles his rod tip a little bit, comes tight, but wiggles the rod tip a little bit just to make a little, motion on that bait down in the sand like a crab would or a shrimp would.
Yeah.
And, that's how he's catching his fish. So, really, really a great tip. So I wanted to share that with your listeners tonight as well.
Yeah, man. I was listening to the show this morning. That was definitely cool. But then I got pulled away and wasn't able to call in. But a lot of good tips there. I was enjoying it for sure. And Ben said something interesting about the color of the meat on the fish, how I never really put that together like he did, how the more pelagic fish generally have a bigger bloodline, a little darker meat, a little bit more oily because they're moving around so much, and then the reef fish are more white because they're kind of sitting still and chilling. And then he made that connection to animals too, like the chickens, the turkeys who are just hanging out, they got that real white meat, but the migratory birds like the ducks have that darker meat. It was pretty interesting. I never really thought of that before.
Yeah, I thought we covered a lot of really interesting things this morning, and it's never good to have our good friend Mike Mahoney, down a little bit. He's recovering, but he's down a little.
Yeah.
He wanted to come in, but I told him to stay home and rest up. But and even if it's me out or Ben out, it's nice
Mike
to have
was still trolling you guys in the comments.
Oh yeah, I saw it. Which is
also
good.
Entertaining.
Yes, always. But it's good to have those fresh voices in there.
Yeah.
Just stirring. Not only does it bring that new voices input into the show, but it stirs up stuff in us. It sends us in a different direction. Again, Ben's had that knowledge in his brain, that concept of the meat, the pelagics, the birds, all that stuff, and I'd never heard it before.
Yeah, interesting.
I've been fishing. Ben and I have been friends for 25 years. Deer hunting together and doing shows together for probably 10, 15 years now at least. And I never heard that, but it's a very interesting, look at that stuff. So
yeah. Ben from the top rope with the interesting tip today.
Yeah, he saves it for when Mahoney's not there, I think.
That's what it is.
So.
I heard it. He even started by saying Mahoney would make fun of me. He prefaced it. It was pretty funny.
He would, yeah, for sure. But it's going to be an interesting week. I'm hoping to get out on Friday, but doesn't look real good. Looks like it's going to be a little cold.
A little bit.
A little breezy.
Thursday we might get a little bit of a weather window between these events, but it looks like the backside of it though. For Saturday it starts to calm down, and Sunday, Monday, Tuesday coming up might look pretty good too. So I'm holding out hope for Thursday, and I'm definitely looking forward to the backside of the Friday, Saturday weather because it looks pretty good at the end of this upcoming weekend.
Following week I'm in Jacksonville. So certainly hoping for a window there to get a show in. I'm going to go up Jacksonville and fish with the legendary Terry Lacoste.
Nice.
Film an episode of the show. Yeah. So
such a hard life.
That could be. Well,
somebody's got to do it.
Listen, I'm channeling my inner Dylan Hubbard. I want to be the big dog. So I'm channeling that.
Yeah, I'll be heading up to New Orleans there for the Gulf Council meeting at the end of the month. So.
We'll both be there you go. Yeah, there you go. Well, see you there, superstar. They won't even let me anywhere near that. I think there's a boycott. They have a roadblock up, so they can't come in.
Well, this meeting is going to be interesting because as a chair of the AP, you do an AP report, and I'm the chair of 3 APs. And at this meeting, 2 of my APs have reports due, so I'm going to be up speaking as the Outreach and Education Technical Committee chair and as the Reef Fish Committee chair. So I'll be able to stand at the front and join the conversation 3 out of the 4 days. So it'll be nice to have a lot more airtime. And now that I'm on the TDC as well, since I was appointed to that Tourist Development Council, technically, I'm what's called a delegate, or I forget the exact name. I think it's called delegate, but in the SOPs, yeah. In the SOPs for the council, when someone is going there that holds a position like that, an elected or appointed position, you don't have a timer on your public comment. So now they can't stop my mic during public comment. I can speak as long as I want, which is nice. And I didn't punish them too bad the first time, but this time I have a lot to say, so they might have to sit through a little bit of a dissertation.
Have you looked into the rules and see if there's any way you could, like I could volunteer as tribute to speak for you?
No, I am smarter than that. No, I want to be able to come back. Sure? I want to be able to come back.
I mean, I won't throw anybody out the 3rd story window at this thing.
No, they have meetings on the 1st floor. They've heard about this.
Oh. Okay, well, that's worth a shot.
In FWC, I was talking to the good people at the FWC, and at the last FWC meeting I was at, I've been to a lot of FWC meetings. I've been to a lot of Gulf Council meetings, and when you go to FWC meetings, they can be a little bit, I guess you could say, off-putting, or a little bit more. Your nerves can go up a little bit more when you go to an FWC meeting for the first time, because they really have a huge showing of law enforcement. I mean, there's sometimes there's quite a few people at an FWC meeting, like audience members, stakeholders that are there to speak or there to listen. But dude, law enforcement at FWC meetings will outnumber the people like 2 to 1. It's crazy how many sheriffs or not sheriffs, but FWC officers are actually there. And I'm talking about like uniformed, bulletproof vest, pistol on the hip law enforcement. And I go to a ton of FWC meetings, and this last one, for some reason, I got stopped at the door, and they wanted to check my bag. They wanted to go through everything, and I'm like, I hope he doesn't find my firearms, because this is going to get awkward. But luckily, it was just a quick cursory check, and I was good to go, and he let me into the room. But yeah, I asked, and I was like, hey, man, like, I know I'm allowed to bring a firearm in here. Like, what would have happened after the fact? I asked someone this, and they were like, yeah, it would have been fine. They probably would have just told you to bring it back to your room or whatever. I guess there was heightened security. But I was like, so is that random? And he was like, no, we know who everybody is. They actually do background checks. So, like, as you walk into the FWC meeting, there's, like, technology there that they're actually screening people. And they have, like, a special book with names and backgrounds and what has been said. So I guarantee you, Mike, if you ever do come to an FWC meeting, you're going to get checked, buddy, because
listen, hold on. Listen, I'm telling you right now, if it's the FWC and they're actually keeping tabs on me, I'm going to pass with flying colors. Do you know how many times we've had the FWC on the show?
Maybe. All right,
we've had FWC officers on the show many times.
Saying they probably have a dossier, because they apparently keep track of threats. And I don't threaten the
FWC. I'm okay with the officers. I think the officers are underpaid. I don't think there's enough of them. I mean, I'm all about the FWC officers. I guarantee they got my back. I guarantee you. Now, Ocean Conservancy or some of those.
But that's why you'd be on the list, right? Because if you're making threats to other stakeholders in the room, you're gonna have a dossier, bud. You're gonna be in the book.
That's not fair. The Ocean Conservancy guy earned it. He deserved it. What I told him. If I told the story to your listeners, they would be like,
just because they're an environmentalist doesn't mean they earned it.
He wouldn't shut up. He just kept talking. And I didn't even ask him a question. I was talking to the professor. I was talking to the bigwig, the biologist up at the stage, and this little dweeby fella from Ocean Conservancy wouldn't shut up. So I felt it was important so that I could let the biologist speak and answer my question if I politely asked the little dweeby fella from Ocean Conservancy to stop speaking.
Yes, it was very polite. I remember this now. Yeah. The story gets better every time you tell it.
Listen, it didn't get crazy until we went outside, and when we went, we took a break. We went in the hallway. That's when I got a little out of line.
Yes.
I threatened to.
Yeah.
I mean, I threatened to
don't
throw
have
him out
to-
the
we
third
don't-
story window. But that's not really. I mean, that's not my fault.
But you didn't
he
do
deserved it.
You didn't do it. So.
Right, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Right, I didn't even grab him by the breeches and the scruff of his neck and pretend to do it.
Just thought about it all the way through.
Oh, I still think about it actually.
Good times. But yeah, that's why
Yes,
Mike's
sir.
not allowed. There you go.
No, I'm
guys.
going.
Just
Next FWC meeting that's close, I want you to let me know when it is, and I want to go.
I'll be sure to let you know, buddy. That's
I
top
wanna
of my
go.
list.
Yeah, but you know what would be interesting? This is why I want to go. I want to go just to see if you'll hang out with me.
Oh yeah, of course. Until you
Will
start threatening to throw people out of the windows.
I'm
then
not going to
just kinda
threaten. I'll be
slide away.
completely behaved because I'll have you. I'll have my mini me with me. That's my better half.
The next one's in Tallahassee, and it is coming
Ooh.
up. And yeah, exactly. I think it's
All right.
February. Yeah, it is February. Tallahassee moves around.
I could
Or you can
maybe
come to
do
New
that. I got to go to.
The
I
federal
got the Miami
meetings-
Boat Show.
The federal meetings are interesting. The law enforcement officers don't outnumber you. It's much more laid back. But the federal law enforcement are generally plain clothes. So you got to be a little bit more watchful.
Oh, you got the little earpiece in,
Oh yeah,
probably.
they're
Yeah.
undercover. But I know who's
They
who, so I
probably-
got you.
They see the problem is they know who both of us are because we're friends with Mahoney.
Oh yeah, he's definitely on the list. He's at the top of the
There's
list.
no doubt. There's no doubt Mahoney's on the list for sure.
Well, I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for the call.
All right.
I'll let you get back to the game, and I won't see you this weekend. Do you have a guest this weekend yet?
I'll pick. No, not yet, but I'll pick one out.
All right.
I'll get one lined up. I'm not sure which direction I'm going to go yet. We'll see how controversial I want to be. I want to see how much damage control you got to do the following weekend when I'm not there.
Yes, that sounds like a fun time.
I got you, buddy.
And Mike, for those of you who are interested, Mike did launch a Real Animals supporters group. So there is a new Real Animals supporters group. If you're interested, he's going to be doing exclusive content, much like what we do here in our supporters group there too. So check it out, y'all. Right at the top of the Real Animals Facebook page, you can become a subscriber or supporter today with Real Animals. You're going to be doing like some behind-the-scenes stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Some behind-the-scenes stuff on shoot day, and I'm going to do some right after our charter stuff to really kind of break down how we attacked the day, what we went through, you know, whether the bite was good, whether we had to work, you know, what my brain was doing during the trip, you know, because I usually go into my day with a game plan.
Yeah.
But the exclusive stuff we're going to try to give is, okay, today my game plan didn't work. This is how we shifted gears to try to make something happen, and then, you know, whether or not we were able to accomplish it, what worked, what didn't work, that kind of stuff to try to help people out and give them a little boost on the days that they're struggling.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really interesting. I was your first supporter. I signed up early, so I'm looking forward to it.
You're my hero. I got a question for you. Are you doing a show next weekend there, birthday boy?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll be
All
back
right.
from our trip. So yeah, show's going on. We're gonna miss Super Bowl Sunday, so I gotta do these shows every Sunday because we're gonna miss Super Bowl Sunday, and then there's a Sunday in February that I'm gonna lose as well.
Got it.
So yeah,
Got it.
gotta keep them going,
All right,
buddy.
buddy.
I'll
I
see
hear you. I
next
understand.
weekend. I'll talk.
You're
to
the
you
man.
next
All right.
weekend.
Sounds good. Happy birthday, my brother. See you, Josh. Appreciate you guys.
See you guys. Thanks, Mike.
See you, buddy.
Always a pleasure hearing from our buddy Mike, Capt Mike. So with that, we are going to get into Amendment 59 and then discussing your questions. But before we do, we're going to do a giveaway. And before we do the giveaway, I want to make sure we give a shout out. We have Richard Bedwell send a big 1,000 stars. We had Fritz send in a big 500. Appreciate you, band. Don Schuett with a big 800. Michael Jimmy, what's going on? Michael, Chris, and the fam, the Jimmy family. Appreciate those 1,000 stars, y'all. Jason Gonzalez as well. Tara Strinholm, David Wack, Tara with a big 1,000 stars. Thank you, Tara. David Wack hit us a few times. Oh, Tara with a big 2,000 stars. Thank you, Tara. Robert Riggs, Kathy, appreciate you, Kathy, with the 1,200 stars. Jason Richmond as well. Angie Darling, what's going on? She said, go Commanders. We won't repeat that. With 500 stars, D Flowers, and D Beers with another 1,200 stars. Thank you, D. Appreciate you, Tara, again with another 500. What's that? 2,500 for Tara tonight. Thank you so much. 25.96. Thank you, Tara. Appreciate you. All right, so we went over a little bit about the weather, what's going on now. We showed you some photos. We want to talk to you guys a little bit about Amendment 59, that bottom fishing closure where they're talking about closing 55 species for 3 months. Crazy stuff. But before we get diving deep into that, let's do our first giveaway of the night. We're going to do a free trip giveaway. Remember, we give away $1,500 in free trips every Sunday night. You got to tune in live. You got to watch the whole show, and you got to comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. Then you got to watch the whole show live. And then if your name is picked, you'll see your name appear on this screen, and I will say your name. Then you got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. And remember, if you have questions, text in your question to the phone number on the screen. All right. First free giveaway of the night. Let's do our 10-hour all day. 10-hour all day for one lucky winner. 2 guests. 10-hour all day goes to Tung Lee. Sorry, today's trip was canceled. So sad today's trip was canceled. He said, and I couldn't agree more, no one wants to take you guys fishing more than we do. Trust me. That's the way we feed our family. That's the way we make a living on the water. And we want to have fun out there on the water just as much as you guys do. But today was borderline unsafe and unfishable, and the Florida fishermen probably could have made it out there safely, but there's situations, right? In our position, we're in this lose-lose position, right? My grandfather always said it's a lose-lose position. He said it less politically correct, but essentially people are going to be upset if we cancel their trip, because I'm not saying you in particular who won, right? I'm not calling you out, Mr. Lee there, but what I'm saying is anybody would be upset if we canceled their trip because they've planned their vacation, they've taken time off of work, or whatever the circumstance. You got babysitters for your kids, whatever the circumstances. People are upset when you cancel a trip. It ruins plans. I get it. But on the other hand, when we take you fishing, when we know it's going to be rough, when we know the weather's not great, when we know it's going to be rainy, when we know there's a big storm coming, when we know the fishing's going to be tough, you're going to be more upset if we take you, right? Because you're going to be spending money for an experience that's not satisfactory, that's not any good, and you're not going to want to come back. So either way, we're going to make people upset in a situation like today when the weather's out of our control, right? So we have to make tough decisions. Is the weather doable? Can we take people out there and maybe potentially put a trip together that some people might enjoy? Or is it so bad that we just have to cancel the trip and they're going to be disappointed anyway, right? So we have the unfortunate decision of a lose-lose situation. But unfortunately, weather's out of our control, and we have to just do what we think is best. And today, I'm very confident we made the right decision. That storm that rolled through about 9:30, 10 a.m. was brutal. Had 50-mile-an-hour gusts, a lot of lightning in it. If we were out there fishing, it wouldn't have been fun. All right, so Amendment 59. Let's get right into it. Again, this was circling around on social media. A lot of people talking about it. A lot of people posting about it. A lot of people confused by it. Got a couple phone calls at the office about it. Amendment 59 is a South Atlantic measure. It is not in the Gulf. Has nothing to do with the Gulf yet. So what I wanted to talk about tonight is how did it come about? What can we do? Is there anything we can do? And basically, what implications does it have for the Gulf? So what Amendment 59 is it's a secretarial amendment. So something that's never happened before, ever, in the Southeast region. In the Southeast, remember, the Southeast region is our region. There's the South Atlantic, Caribbean, and Gulf. That makes up the Southeast region of NOAA fisheries. NOAA fisheries. In our Southeast region, we have these three management councils: South Atlantic, Caribbean, and Gulf. Our councils are made up, in the Gulf, we have 17 voting members of the council. 5 state representatives, 1 from each of the 5 Gulf states, 1 representative from the Southeast Regional Office, the regional administrator, Andy Strelchek. And then besides those 6 people, there's 11 other people that are appointed from the Gulf states. Florida has the most delegates. Then other states, smaller states like Alabama, Mississippi, two delegates. Texas will have 2 or 3 delegates. Louisiana, I think, has 3. So basically, it's made up of a potpourri of people that apply to these positions. The governor then gets a list of applicants. The governor picks like a top 3 or 4 people, and then he sends them over to the Secretary of Commerce, and the Secretary of Commerce then decides who makes the council. So there's 17 voting members on the council. A large majority of them are recreational fishermen, representing private recreational fishermen. Essentially, what the council does is it's an advisory body to NOAA. So they make they hear what's going on in the science from their Science and Statistical Committee. The CDAR group does the stock assessment. The stock assessment goes to the Scientific and Statistical Committee, which is an advisory body to the council. Then the council takes all that advisement from the scientists, from the CDAR group, from the fishermen and fisher ladies, and they make decisions. They're tasked with voting on and passing regulations. And then that regulation is then passed on to NOAA as advisement, and NOAA is responsible for making the advisement into a regulation, into law. Then that law that NOAA makes is sent up to Secretary of Commerce for a signature and a sign-off, and then it becomes law. So that's how the process is supposed to work. Fishermen or fisher ladies or stakeholders or environmental groups or any stakeholder can come to the council with a problem, a suggestion, and it can walk through that council process. The council then sends it to NOAA. NOAA sends it to the secretary. Secretary signs off. It becomes law. That's how it's supposed to work. Amendment 59 is totally backwards. So what's been happening in the South Atlantic with red snapper, they are in this red snapper rebuilding program, much like we were in 2006 in the Gulf. In the South Atlantic, they're in this red snapper rebuilding program, and they're supposed to have these smaller catch limits and these depressed catch limits because of the rebuilding program, and they're supposed to be staying below their catch levels. Unfortunately, the data, which we all know there's problems with the data, but the data is saying that they're going over these catch limits, and they've been going over these catch limits for a number of years, like a decade or more, and they just can't seemingly get ahead of the ball game, and they're stuck in this feedback loop of, all right, so people go out there fishing for mutton snapper, for yellowtails, for grouper, and they go out there fishing, and there's so many red snapper, they're catching red snapper and releasing them because the red snapper season is closed over there. It's like 2 days in the South Atlantic. So they're catching these fish and releasing them, and a portion of those fish die. So they say a certain percentage of the number of fish you catch and release die from barotrauma, from discard mortality, from depredation, from sharks, from dolphins. So those fish get released and they die. So if they release 100,000 fish, you're going to have a small percentage of those fish die. Well, they're releasing so many fish, that small percentage that are dying is enough to fill that quota that's super small. And now they're filling the quota and exceeding the quota, so then the next year, the quota is even smaller. Then they meet or exceed that quota, and the next year, the quota is even smaller. They meet and exceed that quota, the next year's, the quota is even smaller. And that's been the feedback loop the South Atlantic has been stuck in for like the last 10 years. And the South Atlantic Council hasn't done significant action to try to stem that or stop that or slow that. So people sued. whether I think it was an environmental group sued NOAA and said, hey, you guys aren't following federal law. You're not ending overfishing. You're not following the Magnuson-Stevens Act. And NOAA Fisheries lost that lawsuit. So now, not only is NOAA Fisheries compelled by the Magnuson-Stevens Act to end overfishing and make sure this rebuilding program succeeds, but now the court is ordering them to do it. So they look to the council, and for the last 2 years, they've been begging the South Atlantic Council, hey guys, you got to do this. We got to make some big changes. We got to do something. We got to stop the overfishing. And the South Atlantic Council has been struggling with how to deal with that. So long story short, this secretarial amendment has come along. And basically that's NOAA saying, hey, we got sued. We have to end overfishing. We have to follow Magnuson. It's unfortunate. It's a really bad situation. No one wants this to happen because there's data questions. It's frustrating that Magnuson has these really strict adherences that you have to kind of stay in between of, and it's not really flexible, and it doesn't really mesh with recreational fishing and today's problems. So you're stuck in this guardrail, and you can't go outside of it, and it's been really inflexible. And now the courts are saying, hey, you have to stay in here. So now the secretarial amendment is forcing them to stay between these lanes. And a big problem they have is with those discards. There's so many people out there fishing and catch and releasing red snapper. The discards are driving the fishery into the dirt. Like I said before, they're only able to fish for red snapper like 1 or 2 days a year. That's how long the season is. Well, with this Amendment 59, the season is going to go from 1 or 2 days. It's actually going to go to like 5 to 7 to maybe 9 days. So they're going to get a season that's 5 times longer. Sounds good, right? Not right. The reason they're able to do that is because they're going to cut back on discards by a significant portion. I think like 24% or something, or 26%. And the way they're going to lower those discards so quickly and so significantly is they're proposing closing 55 species of fish for 3 months. No bottom fishing at all from Cape Canaveral to the Florida-Georgia border. So for half of the East Coast, basically, you will not be able to go out there and bottom fish at all. Not even catch and release. You cannot bottom fish for 3 months, December 1st through the end of February. That's the proposed rule from Port Canaveral to Florida-Georgia line. So again, this is East Coast. This is not in the Gulf, but it's really, really draconian and scary, because if they do this and it succeeds in cutting down on these discards, I guarantee you that precedence and that idea is then going to migrate, because a problem we have in the Gulf is discards and discard mortality. And we have a lot of sharks eating discarded fish. And we have a problem, a well-known problem with what's called high grading. And that's high grading is when someone catches a red snapper during red snapper season, but they decide to throw it back because they're like, I'm going to try to catch a bigger one. That's unethical. It's high grading, and technically it's not legal, but people do it a lot. We try to talk people out of it, but it's really hard to control, and people do it a lot, even on our boats. I don't like it, but it happens. And unfortunately, the more fish that get thrown back, the higher the discard number is, and the higher the discard number is, the higher the discard mortality rate is. And if we keep having these high discard mortality rates, this precedence that is now being currently set in the South Atlantic on the east coast of Florida could potentially move into the Gulf. Scary. However, so the first thing I wanted to cover is, how did this happen? We just talked about that. How did it happen? Inaction over the last 10 years, then the court case over the last 2 years. There's been warnings, and we talked about it a year ago on the show, how this might potentially happen. Here it is. Then what can we do about this? A lot of people have called me. What can we do? How can we stop this? Is there anything we can do? Unfortunately, because it's the secretarial amendment coming down, if it was a council thing, if the council was proposing this, I would feel confident we could make changes, or we could affect change, because you have a lot of opportunity at the council level to get involved, to get feedback, and they listen for the most part if you can speak effectively and efficiently and connect the right people. However, because it's coming top down, because it's a secretarial amendment, because they've been having this problem for 10 plus years, because of the court case 2 years ago, I don't think there's much average Joe fisherman can do. So unfortunately, what we can do at this point, litigation can change it. And I think the good people over there at CCA, ASA, Congressional Sportfish, CF, I don't know, Congressional Sportfish something, I forget. They're going to make fun of me when I see them next. But Congressional Sport Fishing, ASA, CCA, they're going to get together, and I guarantee they're going to sue. So litigation will slow or stop this implementation. I don't know if it can stop it completely, but it's definitely going to slow it down from being implemented. The other thing is, we're seeing, this is not political, but it is political, because I'm not making a political statement is what I'm trying to say, but we're looking at an administration change. And the administration that we have currently is very favorable to environmental efforts, like the whole whale thing, closing down the entire Gulf of Mexico because there's 50 whales out there that don't have a chance to come back. They're already past the point of no return. NOAA's own scientists said there's not enough whales out there to save the species. We've already killed them off, even though there's 50 left. And they were talking about shutting down the whole Gulf of Mexico and making a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit because of these 50 whales their own scientists said are going to die anyways. So this administration is very favorable to these extreme environmental policies. The next administration has already discussed it publicly on Twitter that this is not okay, and you can't harm business and shut down business for 3 months. There's plenty of red snapper out there. Our governor has already made a statement about it, saying that he was going to work with the incoming president and try to stop it. So I think the political powers could stop it completely. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some crazy executive order in the next couple days to stop this proposal. So you have those two things that could potentially stop it. I don't think I can do anything. I know I can't do anything. Other fellow fishermen, I don't think we can do much. But litigation could stop it, or new administration can, and probably, I think, will stop it. What it means for the Gulf is what I said before. The precedence is scary. It's an idea, and if they get the chance to test the idea and the idea works, that's scary, because I don't see that being too far down the road from being tried in the Gulf. The idea that it's even been brought up and proposed in the Federal Register is scary, because I don't think it doesn't stop people from trying that same proposal idea as well. Very frustrating. But we shall see. All right, so that was Amendment 59 in a nutshell. So a lot of people have been asking me what it is, how can they do anything more about it. So I wanted to give a little bit of a 10 to 15 minute spiel there on what Amendment 59 is and what it means for the Gulf. All right, with that, let's do our next giveaway, our 5-hour half day. Then we're going to try to rip through some of your questions. Then we're going to end this show giving away a free 39-hour trip. All right, so next giveaway, we're going to do 5-hour half day, one lucky winner, 2 guests. 5-hour half day for 2 guests to 1 lucky winner goes to Carmen Ardino from Bloomfield, New Jersey, I think, right? That J is cut off, so I'm going to get, I was right. New Jersey. I didn't think there was an NI. Is there an NI? I don't think so. All right, so let's get into some questions. Let's see. What questions do we have? Are there any advantages using 60-pound mono over 40, 50-pound braid from mainline when fishing 180 to 210 foot for a grouper and red snapper? I would recommend generally, if you're going to use a top shot, which you have to use a top shot if you have braid. So if you have braid, you want to put a top shot on top of it. A top shot is adding 20, 30, 40 foot of mono. So you do a line-to-line knot, you add 20, 30, 40 foot of mono on top of your braid. That's a top shot. It's like a shock absorber. You wouldn't want to drive a truck down a bumpy road without shock absorbers, right? Well, you don't want to hook a snapper that's fighting really hard and shaking his head without a shock absorber on your line, especially if you're fishing 200 foot of water, you know. It's a long way to bring that fish up without shocks, and they're going to be able to rip a hole in their mouth. They're going to be able to spit your hook. You're going to lose a lot of fish. So you want a top shot for that reason. Plus, if you happen to start getting cross with someone else, you can reel up really fast, and it's going to be a mono-to-mono tangle if that so happens, and you'll be able to undo it instead of having to cut your braid all day long. So you want a top shot to avoid tangles, and you want a top shot to catch more fish. And if you're going to add a top shot, if you got 50-pound braid, it's a good idea to have at least 50-pound mono on top of it. You never want your top shot to be significantly lighter than your braid. You want it to be equal or maybe a little bit more. But I try to kind of equal them out. If I got 40-pound braid, I'll have a 40, 50-pound top shot. If I got 60-pound braid, I'll have maybe 60, 80-pound top shot. But generally, you don't have 30-pound braid and a 100-pound top shot, right? You generally are kind of matching them up for that reason. But yeah, generally not lighter. So yes, it does make sense. What is the best moon phase for your 10-hour trip? We actually just recorded a video about that. We get that question a lot about moon phase. So we just recorded a video this week, and hopefully we'll have that out on our YouTube channel next week or so. But we're trying to do at least a fishing tip and trick video a week, and that's my goal for this year, and we're definitely hitting it for sure. So to answer the question, best moon phase for a 10-hour trip, I would say, I mean, there's so many different variables that go into it, and that's the premise of that video I just talked about. Is moon phase is one of like 30 variables, right? Did a cold front just happen? Is the water murky? I know, Josh, I'm getting there. Is the water murky? Is it cloudy and overcast? Like today, it wouldn't have mattered what the moon phase was because the water's murky from the rough weather. It was overcast and foggy. So even if you had a full moon, it really wouldn't have affected much other than the current would have been moving more, right? So there's so many other variables, so don't get too hung up on it. But generally, full moon is a better night bite. New moon is a better day bite. Quarter moons can kind of go either way, right? Also, new and full moon, you have more water moving, and you have more movement on the bait, and you have more flushing water, more actively feeding fish. But new and full moon, you got to worry about more current on those 39, 44, 12-hour extreme trips. Sometimes that current's running pretty strong. But be on the lookout for that video coming up next week to our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn notifications on so you're notified when we post new videos. Also, next question, is mahi or wahoo a possibility on the 39-hour trip? Yes, very possible. We see more mahi in the spring and summer, but we can catch them in the wintertime too. A lot of times we catch big ones in cooler months, but very sporadically. It's not something we do all the time, but we see a lot of the smaller ones, the chicken dolphins, through the summer. Wahoo, we see a lot of them in the cooler months and even spring and fall. And sometimes through the summer too. It depends on water temperatures and currents and stuff like that. But this is the time of year for wahoo and blackfin tuna. But blackfin tuna we kind of see all year too. But we see more wahoo and blackfin when it's cooler, spring, fall, and through the winter. Kingfish are kind of spring and fall heavily, but kind of last through the summer. What color braid? The color I don't think matters very much. We talked about this really in depth like 2 shows ago, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. Me personally, I like using more natural colors. So I like that dark green, that light blue, even white. I personally, if you're going to use high vis line, like the neon stuff, some people need it. Their eyes are getting bad. They struggle to see. High vis line is okay as long as you're using a top shot. You want to make sure that high vis line is away from the bottom, right? But the color of braids, I don't think matters unless you start talking about that neon stuff. And again, you want to make sure you have a top shot. How many knots does the Flying Hub 2 do? It does about 34 knots, about 40 miles an hour, top end speed. How is the dry dock process going? It is It is going well. It's going very good. The boat painting is pretty much completely done. Getting a little hold up. We were going to be out of dry dock early, and I was going to be making an announcement here this week about adding a 39-hour trip and adding some 10-hour trips, and we were all excited to get the boat back early. However, like all good plans, things can happen, and unfortunately, we found one whole side of one engine was having injector leaks. Luckily, we caught it in our oil samples. We were doing a lot of preventative maintenance. We were changing the oil every 75 hours to try to preserve viscosity in the oil, and we found out why. The oil was getting diluted by diesel fuel due to body leaks in 6 injectors. So it's under warranty, thankfully, so they're going to replace all that stuff, but there's no injectors. So they're trying to rebuild what we got and trying to order new parts, but that might hold us up. So we're trying to figure that out with the mechanics here this week, and we'll have a dry dock end date coming up. Remember, our dry dock is currently scheduled to end February 17th. We're very confident we're going to be ready for that. So there was no delays in dry dock, but we always schedule a longer period to make sure we have plenty of time and there isn't a delay. But a lot of times we schedule a longer period than we need. So sometimes we get back early. That's always the goal, to get back early, and then we can add trips and be all excited. We got back early. So we were hoping to be announcing that, hey, we got back early, here's some added trips. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but we'll find out this week, so stay tuned. So dry dock is going pretty good. Which trip is best for catching hogfish? 10-hour all day is hands down your best bet to target those hogfish, but you got a chance on the half day too. Is hogfish around in April? Yes, we see them most in the summer months. In the cooler months, really October, November-ish until later spring, March, April-ish. When it starts to warm up, they get spread out, and it makes it a little bit more difficult. But we do see them pretty good up until April. Depends on the weather, though. If it warms up really fast, sometimes they get a little tough into April. But we'll see. Someone asked about the Regulars Club discount when you're bringing a friend. If you're bringing out a friend that's never been to Hubbard's Marina before and you're a Regulars Club member, you can bring that friend at your discount. So let's say Josh is a Regulars Club member. He's got a buddy, Steve. Steve's never been to Hubbard's Marina. Josh can bring Steve with him, and Steve can get that discount. Now, the next time Steve has a great time, he says, hey, Josh, I want to go again. Josh says, hey, come next week. Steve comes back the second time with Josh. He would have to pay full price because Steve's already went out with Josh and got his discount once. So Steve, at that point, would have to join the Regulars Club himself to get the discount, or he would pay full price and go with Josh. If you got a buddy Bob who's already been here before, then he couldn't go and he could never get your discount because he has already been to Hubbard's Marina. Basically, how the Buddy Pass works on the Regulars Club program is you can bring as many friends as you want at your discounted rate as long as they have never been to Hubbard's Marina before. It makes it easier for you to bring more friends, tell more people about Hubbard's Marina, and as a thank you to you for doing that, you can use your discount for those new friends. But if they've been, they can't use the discount. So that's how the Buddy Pass program works on the Regulars Club. And remember, if you want to know more about the Regulars Club, it is on our website. Is night fishing always the best time for mangrove snapper? If so, why is that? Mangrove snapper are predatory fish, but they are smaller predatory fish, and they're more active at night. They're more nocturnal species. Why is that? Just biology, right? And anatomy of the way they're built. They generally are going to be more active at night because those smaller fish can be more aggressive and can get out there and move a lot more when those other big predatory grouper aren't moving around as much. And they're more nocturnal. They have, actually, their eyes have this pearl in the back of them, so they can see better at night too. So they're just built to feed and predate at night. We do catch mangrove snapper during the day too, for sure. Sean Meehan, what's up, buddy? Congressional Sportsman Foundation. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it, buddy. The head of recreational fishing for NOAA Southeast Regional Office. Recreational Fishing Liaison. I always get his title wrong. He's a really nice guy, though. Let's see. What other questions do we have? What is the best spinning reel for $400? A Daiwa Saltist or Saltiga would be my favorite. The Daiwa BGMQ is really good too. Mike just started working with Okuma again. Okuma has a huge new line of these really high-end reels. I don't know what their price points are, but Okuma has always had a really impressive drag system. Shimano has great stuff. Personally, I don't like Penn. I haven't had good customer service experiences with them, and I don't think their products hold up like they used to. But Daiwa high-end stuff is, in my opinion, the best because they have a 5-year warranty on their Saltiga series. So for 5 years, if you have the original purchase receipt, you send it to them, you pay shipping, and they fix whatever might be broken, and they even service your reel for 5 years. So I like a company that stands behind their product, and I've had really good experiences with their customer service. So I like Daiwa personally for that reason. Plus, I think their products are superior. Shimano's great, but you pay for the Shimano name. They really are proud of their products over there and pay a little bit more, but they are also very good. Okuma, like I said, new line, really high-end drags, and they're really good people. I really, really like the people at Okuma, so we're supporting them. How does it look for the 12-hour night on this Saturday? And it's actually looking pretty good. This upcoming Saturday is, we always have 12-hour night trips on Friday. They're normally 12-hour night is Fridays only, but this upcoming Saturday is Gasparilla. So the boat has to go over to Gasparilla early, blah, blah, blah. It's a whole thing. So we had to move the night snapper from Friday night to Saturday night. So this weekend coming up, the first time ever, we have a Saturday night snapper, and actually the weather's laying down Saturday, and it's looking pretty good for that 12-hour night trip, and it's on the Florida, so you got the big boat, you got the bunks, so pretty unique opportunity there. So I would check it out and hit up that 12-hour night snapper this upcoming Saturday. Plus, we'll have a film crew there, so we'll have the film guys out there if you want to go catch some mangroves and get on YouTube. All right. Do we have enough time? One more.
It's nothing. Fishing was awesome.
All right. So we're pretty much what?
Why is Treasure Island so far behind Madeira Beach for hurricane cleanup? Because they don't have the power of the Hubbard family. That's why.
I would be careful who you say that to, right? It's all in perspective. I've talked to Treasure Island residents that say, why is Madeira Beach so far ahead of us? And then you talk to some Madeira Beach residents, and they're like, why does Madeira Beach suck so bad? Unfortunately, I think a lot of the problem lies with FEMA and not these city municipalities. Because even look at the county, and there's things that the county hasn't done yet because they're held up at FEMA. And these processes have to walk through FEMA, right? So obviously the city has a part to play, right? They have to process the permits. But I just was talking to the Treasure Island city mayor at a meeting this past week, and he said the state hired this contractor. I'll pull up the notes because I was taking a lot of notes because I was interested myself. Where is that thing? There it is. So, Treasure Island, he said it was like a city update, and the first thing he said is permits issues and permits situation sucks. Basically, Treasure Basin is the bottleneck. So Treasure Basin is a company, a contracting company that the state hired. And this state-hired contractor is supposed to go in there and handle the FEMA first run-through, and they're supposed to help do these substantial damage reports. And so they went out there and they sent all these contractors out there to do all these evaluations. They were done October 20th. So they had sent all the inspectors out there. They had gotten all the inspections and reports done October 20th, really quickly. Now it is what, January 19th? They still, to this day, the city doesn't have all that data. So only like half the data is there. So the inspectors were done October 20th, but Treasure Basin hasn't input all the data from those inspections and inspectors. So it's super frustrating. Someone can apply for a permit, they can get the permit, they can start work, they can reopen, and then this person across the street applies for a permit. Well, that data isn't there. So their permit's in limbo, and they're pissed, and they're saying the city sucks, but unfortunately it's at the next level. at this FEMA subcontractor. It's pretty interesting in a bad way how you see these failings in the government superstructure, and there's a lot of it. So bureaucracy is definitely showing some holes, and we're all suffering as residents, as locals, as business owners and homeowners in the area. So I wouldn't say one is better than the other. I would say everybody has their own problems in their own unique ways, and we're all trying our best to work through it. So it's tough. It's tough. All right. I think it's time to wrap this thing up. We're 15 minutes over time already. When's the after show starting, Josh?
5 minutes.
After show is going to start at 8:50 for the supporters after show. If you're in our supporters group, we'd love to have you. Hopefully you can join us. Remember, it's less than $5 a month to join us in the supporters group. It's a lot of fun. Behind the scenes info, more connectivity, more communication. So join us at 8:50 in our supporters group for the after show. Join us next weekend for a special birthday episode of this live stream show. My birthday is Friday. I'm turning 34. Not looking forward to that. I feel like after 30, you just should stop counting for a while, right? So I'm just going to stay right there, early 30s. But it is what it is. So join us next weekend, 7:30 p.m. We hope to see you there, and I hope to see you in our supporters after show at 8:50. And I got a lot to talk about next week. That's our last meeting before I travel to New Orleans for that Gulf Council meeting. So we're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff to say, and I hopefully answer a lot of your questions. So join us next week and every week, 7:30 p.m. for our live stream show. Don't forget, Super Bowl Sunday is coming up. We will be canceling the show Super Bowl Sunday. So cross that Sunday night off. But every other Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. we'll be here right here for our live stream show. Y'all have a good night. Tight lines. Let's find out who won our 39-hour giveaway. And before we do that 39-hour giveaway, we want to make sure we give a shout out to our 39-hour giveaway sponsor. That's right. Innovative Pools and Spa brings you 35 years of experience of building pools in the Tampa Bay area, and they're continuing the legacy of their father's company, which was recognized as a top pool builder in the Tampa Bay area for 35 years. Plus, they continue to raise the bar in pool construction, design, and features. They have an unparalleled passion for the industry, so call them today at 727-788-1650 or visit them online at innovativepoolsandspa.net for an estimate to see why Innovative Pools and Spa is the top choice for families in our community. So big shout out to Innovative Pools and Spa for being our 39-hour giveaway sponsor. And let's see who won that 39-hour trip for one lucky winner. We'll see you next week for another episode as well. Because don't forget, y'all, you're too busy to go fishing. You're just too darn busy. Let's see who won the 39-hour trip for one lucky winner. Chris Pettit from Tampa. Congratulations, Chris. What's up, man? Awesome stuff there. Hopefully we'll see you guys next weekend. Thanks for being a part of our Hubbard's Marina family, and thanks for joining us for Off the Hook with Captain Hubbard. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.